If you didn't happen to catch my other video, I'm going to go ahead and do a full-length one on this muffler swap here. The other one's more of an introduction, but anywho. This is the driver's side muffler from my car that just completed Mega Week. About the time we left Oklahoma and went to Texas, so like more than halfway through the event, we noticed a really bad exhaust leak. You can see the muffler was splitting here, and that made just a terrible drony, flatulent sound. It came further apart, so there were some folks on site with a welder. I was hoping maybe to just weld this center crack here and, you know, just cover it up so it wasn't so bad. It was kind of late in the day. They weren't really interested in the project, so we just said, screw it. We'll just cosmetic and an annoyance. So we just hit the road for what, 280 more miles back to Tulsa, and at some point, what was just kind of a flap hanging there disintegrated and fell off. To my knowledge, we didn't hit anything. We didn't find a bump or an animal or anything to rip the thing off. I guess just the waves and the heat and everything, it just gave out and conceded, and is somewhere between Texas and Oklahoma. The other pipe wasn't nearly as bad, but the muffler was starting to split down the middle, and I think this outer seam on the other one was coming apart. So that one's been replaced. That one I've already done. That one's pretty easy. This side, I do want to make a major change here toward the back half. I want to alter the direction of this muffler hanger. I think it'd be easier to get it on and off the car if it's on the drive shaft side and goes toward the outer frame side of the chassis. Right now, again, it's on the outside going in toward the drive shaft, and it just makes it hard to angle it in position. I think we'll have more room if we switch that side. On the passenger side, it's already like that. It starts at the drive shaft direction and goes to the outer part of the car, and it goes in and out pretty smooth. Again, this is part of my quick change deal. So right now we use this ball flange, and it's pretty quick. It's just one little zip zip on that, and we can kind of force that out by hand off the rubber mount in the back, and it takes longer to jack the car up, honestly, than it does to remove it. And we shed some weight when we do that, when we're going for these all-out times, either NA or with nitrous. And this muffler didn't rob a lot of performance, but the Flowmasters I had before this did. We'll see what happens with these other chambered mufflers if they're pretty bad. The Flowmasters I used to have were offset, whereas these are offset in, center out. And the new mufflers are also offset in, center out. So the chamber, maybe it won't be as restrictive in that capacity as the off-off, but they were pretty bad. They lost a lot of horsepower on the dyno. These guys, I want to say, only lasted 4 or 5 years, which is a shame, but they've both fallen and hit the ground at least once, so that probably contributed to their demise. All right, we'll get into it. I'll show kind of my technique. That looks like a lot of welding to be grinding on in order to remove this, but with my technique, maybe not as dramatic. We'll see. We'll time it, and we'll see if it's a benefit to anybody. So far what I've done is I've just kind of leveled the muffler because I want some consistent point where it's level. So right now it's level this way, and then if I turn it this way, I mean, we're pretty close. We put it over here. You can see there's a little bit of a tilt, a little bit of a glare too. Anywho, I am going to cut off the back side here first. So I'm just going to cut probably here, because I know this doesn't go all the way to here. So I'm going to go ahead and make a notch closer to the muffler here. I'm just going to use the cutoff wheel, and then I'll make quick work of it with the Sawzall. I've already made a cut into the pipe. I can see that there's no overhang from the turn down piece, so I'm going to go ahead, make some adjustments here to my camera, and I'm going to hit it with the Sawzall. This shouldn't take very long at all, judging by what I did with the other side. I got a nice long blade in this saw. It should cut like butter. I might be a little bit close though to the muffler, so we'll see how this goes. Well, that didn't go very well. Probably need to come out here just a little bit. So we're gonna make an adjustment to our incision. My first cut's a little bit too close to the muffler with that incision. I was going to make a quick video with the Sawzall. Ended up smacking the end of the muffler. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that over about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch over toward the end of the tailpipe there. We're going to make a quick incision. Hopefully the turn down is not that deep. I don't believe it will be. I think we'll be clear. I'll go ahead and switch the battery over. And this should be real time here. Let's see how long it takes. Alright, just taking a quick look. There is no pipe overhang there, so we're going to go ahead and go back to the Sawzall here. Hopefully when I smack the case of the muffler I didn't screw anything up with the blade. Should make quick work of it otherwise. I still feel like I'm going to bump into it, but we'll see. Alright, we'll see. The video's 2 minutes, so that wasn't bad. Alright, so the technique, let's say I wanted to save this. I think I'm going to go ahead and try to anyway, just in case. Some of the weld is on it, some of it's not all the way around. I used to just tack these in place, but I had a mishap, so I got a little more aggressive with how much weld I put on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 4 cuts. I'm going to cut this into like a pie, or consider like a plus sign. I'm going to go top, bottom, and across. And I'm going to use this guy for that. And then I'm going to start working on kind of where it meets the weld and just cut the outer ring off. And once I cut the ring off, I'll try to wiggle that off, and then I'm going to work on the actual weld with the flapper or try to cut it off, whichever is quicker. If you had a belt sander, that would make it much easier probably. Alright, I'm going to cut this off and see how quick I can get it off. And we'll use kind of the same technique here. Once I cut here, it'll look just like this where the pipe lays inside of it. I'll go ahead and split it like a cross, and then I'll work on cutting it close to the weld, and then I'll just cut by the weld and peel it off. Alright, we'll see how it goes. See, I'm only going to go to about the depth of that inner piece of pipe. I don't want to go and start cutting into that, so I get right to the edge, but then I run it all the way out on the outer part. So this part's a little bit noisier. I'm going to go ahead and put some earmuffs on, and I went ahead and grabbed the plug-in style cutter just because I don't want to run my batteries down for the other tools. Alright, we're going to get to cutting. So all I tried to do is just skin this piece off. So I cut, there's a pretty thick weld there, but I just cut where I didn't go so deep that I got into the other part of the pipe. But at some point you feel like you're getting close, I just went ahead, set this back up here, and I'll zoom in a little. So as you saw, I scored it. I would just come in here and get it off. And I just do it in manageable sections, and then when I come back either with a flap wheel or something heavier, grinding wheel, and clean that off. But you can see there's a good weld here, so I'll just cut right along that seam. Again, just try to skin it. And that first piece didn't take very long at all, and I don't anticipate this will take much longer either. So we'll just kind of beat up boop and see what we can do here. Cut on it for about another minute or so. I did notice I didn't go deep enough here, so maybe that was part of the problem. But again, just takes a little time, but this is hopefully going to be quickish. I hate trying this with gloves. Boom, gone. Alright, you can see I cut into this just a little bit, but that's alright. That kind of gives me a mark of how far I'm going to go in when I put it back in, assuming I use this one. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I cut all the way through here and get into the turn down a little bit. This one should be pretty quick. I just got a little bit of a joint here and a joint here, and then a little bit here, and we'll be off in no time. So I kind of did myself a favor. This one's not as welded as the other one I did. It'll be pretty quick. Alright, let's see how well I did here. Again, there wasn't nearly as much weld on this half as the other half. Again, I hate wearing a glove when I do the vice grips. Oh yeah, it's falling off already, you can see that. Don't have to do anything. Let's tighten this up a little bit. Boom, done. Then you just got to clean that off. And again, if you had like a belt sander or something else, it'd be much quicker. I'm just going to use either this or I've got another abrasive wheel here. I might try a flappy one. We'll see whichever. I'll just kind of play around here and see which one moves the most material the fastest and use that one. And we'll have this cleaned off. It turns out in my little junk drawer here of different discs and things, I have a 40 grit. So that's what I'm going to try. I'm going to try this 40 grit. We'll see how long it takes me. Well, I am finished. It was about 4 minutes, judging by the time of the last file it created on my phone. But this is kind of the product I'm leaving it with. It's not perfectly smooth. It'll give me a little more material to weld, so I don't actually push through it if it's thin there. But I think this is ready. And it's been so far about 10 to 15 minutes worth of work. And some of it's obviously been doing the video, so not terribly long to get to this point. I mean, let's say you buy a turn down from Summit or somewhere. I think they're $45-50 for a pair. So I just saved myself $20 in 15 minutes. That's $60-80 an hour just for my cheap labor here. Like I said, I'm probably going to cut this other piece off. I'll worry about that later. I'm going to start working on the muffler though. And again, I've already leveled it off. And I'm going to check it again here in a minute. And the idea, and if you look here, let's see if I can do it without making a shadow. The pipe is not straight. The muffler's kicked this way a little bit. And again, when I cut this off, I'll be able to kind of see where it was, so I can try to duplicate that angle. And that's important when I go to hang it back on the car. I want this thing at the correct angle so that everything lines up when I go to put that bracket back on. Now that's where it's going to be different though, is if I move that bracket on the turn down. and I scoot it to the other side of the pipe, but the pipe location should be about the same. The way that centers itself over they're turned down as well. Like, I don't have it pointed down, I have it pointed at a 90 facing out away from the car. I don't know that it blows up any less dirt when I'm in a gravel parking lot, but that's just how I've been running it here the last little bit, and I'll continue to do that. So I'll get started on this next thing, but the concept is the same. I know this probably doesn't go more than, you know, an inch in here, so I'm going to cut somewhere where I can get the Sawzall in here without bumping into the muffler. I might have to switch the vise around just so I have a better angle on this where I'm not hitting the body of the muffler. So I could probably get really tight in here, whereas on the back side, because the way I had it, and it's kind of in the center of the muffler anyway, but with this one being more to one side of the muffler, I should be able to get the Sawzall much closer and tighter here if I want. But again, it's not really that important because I don't think that pipe's, you know, even halfway into that section. So I'll get started on that next. Alright, so instead of just spinning the vise around, I went ahead and flipped the pipe upside down, leveled everything off again. Well, gone ahead and made my first kind of pre-cut into that tube, and now I'm going to hit it with the Sawzall. That's what it should have happened on the backside. I don't know why it was so slow, but that was my experience the first time. When I can really get that Sawzall in there, this thing just cuts like crazy. I'll go ahead and put the name of these blades in the description if you're interested. I think so far from what I've seen, they're doing an excellent job. I don't think I've ever used them before. It's the first time I got into this package of them. So, alright, taking a look at this, you can see there wasn't a lot of room here. I got real close to the edge with that Sawzall. Again, since it wasn't square in the tube, that's why I try to go as far toward the muffler with this technique as possible so that I don't try to get into that other pipe. Leave that as long as I can. So again, I'm going to make my cross section, then we're going to cut along the weld, peel it back, grind that down. Shouldn't take terribly long. I'll get on it. I will make this comment. So now that I'm in the vise and I leveled the muffler and we know the pipe and the muffler weren't on a completely straight plane, it is critical at this point that I do not allow the vise to get loose, because right now I know the angles are right. When I square that muffler up on, or when I get the muffler on that tube and I level the muffler and just tack it in, that should be level when it's in the car and to the hanger and everything eventually. So it's critical now that I don't let anything happen to the vise where the pipe moves and we change our angles. So I'm going to get this piece off, clean it up, and then I'm going to clean off the end of the muffler so that when I go to weld it, there's not a bunch of paint and stuff. But again, critical at this point, because the way I'm doing it here on this bench where I leveled the muffler, I need to make sure the other muffler is level when I get it on there. Again, it's going to be angled on the pipe, so I'm going to have to push it or pull it whichever direction it needs to go. And I'll kind of see the ring that's left behind when I grind this down as to which way it favored. And yeah, it should be just a matter of tacking it in, setting it up in the car, hooking everything in, and, you know, tacking it up. Because I'm going to move the hanger though, it's going to be a few extra steps. But this part I think is kind of where I'll leave the video, is getting the muffler tacked on it. This is, again, how I'm just doing a direct replacement for the same type of muffler. It's an offset entrance with a center outlet. The mufflers are pretty darn close to the same size in terms of the case. So that's another thing that makes this really easy. So since these cases are about the same size, I can pretty much line up where this thing was welded to it, and I'll know, hey, that's about the right length. But when I'll have some room to manipulate too with the turn down. If I shove it in a little bit further, let's say I'm a little bit long, maybe not go as deep with the turn down if I'm too short. But that's why you just tack this next section in place. So I'll get to that here. Let me go ahead and get this piece off. Alright, so I've scored and I've started to work on this first quadrant here. It's so much easier to cut the actual steel of the pipe versus your weld. Like the weld kind of ground down pretty quick, so I'm... anyway. Yeah, so see, again, we're just going to skin it. Plenty of weld here, but that 40 grit flapper made pretty quick work of the other side. So I'm just a minute and a half into this. This isn't much time at all. Again, cutting this part. So what sucks now that I'm in the vise and I'm locked into this spot is kind of getting this bottom cut here. So what I'm likely going to do is flip the vise upside down. And I'm just praying that, you know, it's still tight enough that nothing's going to shift and change my true level position when I get back to normal. But again, I think we're making quick work of this. I think this is a good time and money saver. It seemed daunting to think, oh yeah, this is welded all the way around. How am I going to get it off? But it's not that bad. It's already off. Didn't take long at all. You can see again, I didn't go into the weld a lot. It's much quicker to cut the pipe. Now I'm going to hit that with that 40 grit flapper. Probably take me 5 minutes to clean that off. And again, I'll be left with a pretty clear indication of how to clock the other muffler. And we'll get into that shortly. I'm going to go ahead and start cleaning that off. So it's been about 10 minutes. I still got a little bit of a lip on this, but that's alright. It leaves the material thicker where I think I'm going to lay my bead. So I'm not terribly worried about making it perfectly smooth on this pipe. I'm going to go ahead and set the other muffler on top of it and just kind of give you an idea of how the case is the same size, and it makes it easier. Now obviously if I had the same mufflers, it wouldn't be a big deal because now I'd have the exact same case, right? Within some spec. But these mufflers are pretty darn close to the same dimensions on the case, plus or minus a little bit, as you'll see here in a second. Alright, so I've stacked it against the muffler that's still decent, that didn't have the complete hole in it. I don't know, let's say 3/8 to 1/4 there, and probably closer to full 3/8 there. So not dead on, but because of this and the intake part, we can work with this. Again, we're just tacking it in place. We'll put it up in the car, and when I get the hanger going, I'll tack that in place or mark where it needs to be tacked in place, then tack it, then rehang it on the car. You got to go in and out a couple times, no big deal. But we're going to go ahead and try to get this thing fit here and get it tacked up. So basically got it butt up against where the old weld was, which is, again, slightly kicked. It's not in a straight line with that pipe. It was angled slightly to give it the right angle underneath the chassis. So we'll go ahead and tack this guy in. And what I'll do is I'll just set the other piece in the turn down section up in the car and just test fit it. But that's pretty much it. I think even with all the video I've done, it's been well under an hour, and you know, I'm pretty well ready to tack it. So this is how I do it, I guess. I mean, this is the first time I've had to do it, so it's nice that something like this, easy enough for the average Joe to do it. I'm not an exhaust guy by any stretch, but so far so good. The other side fit probably better than it ever fit, and I hope that when I wrap this side up, it'll be the same. I don't know that I'm going to video that, but I'll probably add the sound of these mufflers here at the end of the video, so everyone can hear what it sounds like. Going back to a chambered muffler, I had Flowmasters on it, I guess when it was a 489, so 3 engines ago, and now we're at 555, so we'll see what she sounds like. I hope it sounds like a rowdy little guy, and I guess the other thing is hopefully there's no drone. I mean, I think the Flowmasters are pretty drony, and I think my cruise RPM is anywhere from 26 to 2900, depending on how quick I want to go in the car with the gear vendor engaged. So I'll probably provide some feedback on that as well. Alright, I have it leveled off in both directions. I have it angled properly to the weld, I believe. Got a little block under the end of it here to kind of lift up on it because it wanted to sag a little bit. I'm going to fire up the welder here and put a couple tacks in it. I turn off the lights in the shop. My welding mask, I've got such bright LEDs in the garage that I get a lot of light pouring in through the back of my welding mask. So I turn off the lights and I just put a light in the room so I can kind of see. I've got an auto darkening mask, of course, like a lot of you might have. And instead of putting something over my head like a towel or something to kind of block that extra light, I went ahead and just put a light in the room, turn off the main lights in the garage here. I think it helps me get that initial start better without, you know, kind of screwing with the auto darkening part. So we'll get those tacks in and we'll take a look at it. That was good enough for me. Earned some bubbly here, some frosted beverages, and you can see it's nighttime out there. And we're wrapping it up. Again, tack welds are in. There's the one that already fits like a glove. And I expect this one to do the same. Might have a little bit of challenge with the other piece. Don't worry, I am not class of 23. I am old enough to consume, and that's what we're about to do. Cheers. Can't wait to hear how this thing sounds, by the way. As luck would have it, I went in the corner of the garage here, and I had a spare turned down. So what I'm going to do is just, this one's seen better days. It's hit the ground before. It's kind of split on that side. And then, of course, we got some dents here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and cut this to match the length. Maybe give it just a skosh more. I don't know if I want to go with the tape that's already there or not, but I'll ballpark it, chop it off with that Sawzall, since it makes quick work of this. Hopefully get as close to square as possible, but I will not throw this other one away. I know it's a little beat up, but again, these things are like 40, 50 bucks a pair, and if I just have one laying around in an emergency, you know, if it falls off for some reason, or who knows, right? I'll have something at least to throw on in the future. So, of course, I will not throw it away. And if you've watched my channel, I don't throw hardly anything away. I am a hoarder, and I know it, but it pays off, because I have pieces like this just laying around doing nothing. So I will cut it up, then I'll cut that bracket off, and we'll try to make it work. Continue on the project. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to take some measurements here just to see how far this is from that. And what I'm going to do is just kind of tack it in where it's the same height. So I'm going to tack it in place. I'm going to cut this off, stick it on the other piece. And as long as it's, you know, within that ballpark, just like really close to 7 1/8 in the center there. I think if it's close to that, I should be close if I tack it in to being in the right spot. So we'll see. That's how I'm going to go about it. Just took the quick measurement, cut it off, tack it to the other piece. Alright, everything is currently tacked. We're clearing the floor, we're clearing the cross member. Come back here. Everything's kind of tight to the floor pan. Yeah. So, I think we're going to burn her in and put it on and fire it up, see what it sounds like. Chambered mufflers coming back. Hopefully they don't kill too much power this time. So nobody's going to pay me to weld, but the job is done. We have saved it, and we'll install it here in a minute and fire it up. as promised, here are the blades I used on the Sawzall. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. I just happened to buy these. I want to say I got them at Lowe's, but look around and find them somewhere. I thought they did a hell of a job. 8-inch it looks like, and cut right through that exhaust pipe, no problem.